Well, hello, how are you? Thanks for joining me. My name is Jeff. I'm so glad you could be with me today. Because today I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on December 30th, 1989. It was a 1963 film called The Slime People, starring Robert Hutton, Les Tremayne, Robert Burton, Susan Hart, William Boyce, and Judee Morton. This is a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode in which Tom and Crow fill the satellite of love with fog like they saw in the film. Now this is another film I did in my Head Scratch video series, so if you want to know a lot more details about this film than I'm doing here, you can watch that video. Anyway, for those new to the show, I'm going to talk about a film that was shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000, but I'm going to talk more about the film itself and not a lot about Joel and the Bots. I mean, you don't need me to tell you what they said, right? Anyway, The Slime People starts with a man named Joseph F. Robertson. Joe was a producer and director who lived from 1925 to 2001. I had a problem finding an image of Mr. Robertson, but I know he and an associate producer named Edward Finch Abrams played the two bums in the projection room, so I'm going to assume that's Joseph. He had an interesting career. After serving in the Marines during World War II and majoring in international banking and finance at New York University, he eventually became a show accountant for George Burns' production company. And from this, he became a low-budget film producer and later a director. This eventually led Joseph to produce and direct porn films under the name Adele Robbins. Now, he said in an interview with film historian Tom Weaver that he had read a script called The Slime People, written by Vance Scarstead, and bought it. Vance was an actor who mostly did TV work, but occasionally wrote a screenplay. Robertson's wife at the time, Blair Robertson, who lived from 1923 to 2002, rewrote the script. Blair played Mrs. Costello in the film. The director and star of the film was Robert Hutton. Robert was born Robert Bruce Wynn and lived from 1920 to 1994. He was from New York and had the good fortune of looking a lot like Jimmy Stewart, so his career really benefited when Stewart left Hollywood to fight in World War II. Hutton began getting parts that probably would have gone to Stewart. By the time he made The Slime People, he was starring in films like The Man Without a Body from 1957, The Colossus of New York from 1958, and The Invisible Invaders from 1959. Hutton found that directing was a bit harder than he thought. He said, "I found out that directing was not that simple a job. There are a lot of things I didn't know, and I don't think I'd ever want to do it again. But I did it and I had fun. And I did, I suppose, as much as anybody could do with the amount of money we had, which was nothing." Judee Morton played the younger sister Bonnie. Judy was born in 1940 and as of this recording is still with us. Before The Slime People, she had done a bit of TV, but her career really hadn't taken off.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hello. Where's your date, Wally?
That's all right, Timmy. Maybe they'll make an exception. It's very exciting, even if it is just an educational film.
Yeah.
While going to school at UCLA, she took a job with an agent, William Schuler, and would see scripts come through. When she saw one for The Slime People, which had parts for two sisters, she thought, I can do that. So she told her friend Susan Hart, and they both went down and were hired. Robert Hutton said, "She had a sweater on and she looked good. I didn't ask her to read or anything. I said, you've got the part, and that was it. She was attractive and I knew she would photograph well." The older sister Lisa is played by Susan Hart. Susan was born Dorothy Neidhart on June 2nd, 1941 in Wenatchee, Washington. Like Judy, she did some TV work starting in 1961.
Yeah, and then this joker grabs us. What kind of a town you got here anyway?
Drop the sweet talk, Buster, and let's hear the big fat lie you've made up to con me out of going to the dance.
She would go on to do things like Pajama Party in 64, Dr. Goldfoot in the Bikini Machine in 65, and The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini in 1966. All these were American International Pictures, which makes sense because she married James A. Nicholson, co-founder of AIP. The young hero in the film is Cal Johnson, played by William Boyce. Boyce lived from 1932 to 2013. According to Robert Hutton, he didn't know anything about motion pictures. I think Joe Robertson found him walking down the street one day, asked him if he wanted to be in movies, and the guy said yeah, and that was it. Judee Morton said that he was a great salesman who lied about everything. And the slime people, well, that was about it for his acting career. The part of Professor Goldbrath was played by Robert Burton, who lived from 1895 to 1962. The part was originally to be played by Richard Arlen, who had been a big star back in the day. But the night before the film was to begin, Robert Hutton received a phone call while he was in bed saying that Arlen was very sick in the hospital and wouldn't be able to be in the film. So right away he called Robert Burton, who agreed to play the part. He was a good actor who had a long career starting in the 1950s, but what he didn't tell anyone was he was sick, dying of cancer, and he died shortly after the film was completed. The last actor I'll talk about is Les Tremayne, who plays the sheep-loving Norman Tolliver. Les lived from 1913 to 2003. He was known more for his voice than for his acting. He was a narrator in many films and trailers. He was also in films like The War of the Worlds from '53, The Monolith Monsters from '57, The Monster of Piedras Blancas from '59, and The Angry Red Planet also from '59. He also did a crapload of TV work. Susan Hart called him a real gentleman. Now, according to Robertson, the budget of the film was $56,000, mostly paid for by a friend of Robertson who owned a propane company and a string of laundrettes. Another investor was a man named Ed Abrams. Hutton said, "I knew I was in way over my head and tried to fake it. In making the movie, I went to all my friends because we couldn't afford to pay any kind of salaries." And he also said, "I never got a penny. I never received a first paycheck for the movie. And we just couldn't quit because we were doing it. This isn't the only time I wasn't paid." And Susan Hart said, "I did get paid for the first week, and we even had a makeup person the first week. All of a sudden, in the second week, we started doing our own makeup, and people started disappearing like lighting men and carpenters. All of a sudden, the crew was down to maybe 7, not counting the monsters." The slime people costumes cost about $600 a piece, and they only could afford 8 of them. 2 of the stuntmen who played slime people said they never got paid either. Judy said, "There are times when they forgot the camera. There were times they didn't have film. You can't imagine the things that went wrong while making this film." In fact, Robertson, who Hutton called completely crazy like a little boy, said, "I was very happy. I was very young and I was amazed that I could get anything on film. I'd see it on the screen and say, 'My God, it's actually on film. It's being projected.'" So what is the slime people? Well, we open with a dead body on the beach. Cut to a plane piloted by Tom Gregory flying through a lot of fog on his way to Los Angeles. Be ready for a lot of fog. When he lands, at first he can find no other people until a car pulls up with 3, Professor Goldbrath and his 2 daughters Lisa and Bonnie. They explain that the area is covered with a dome thing and that slime people rose from under the earth and are taking over.
Sir, I know something has happened, but have you ever seen these slime people?
Tom is a newsman and he takes the family to the WTTV studios where they watch some newsreels trying to learn more. As soon as they finish watching the footage, oh no, they're attacked by drunken looters! Run away! Things go from bad to worse, so they run back into the safety of the TV studios where they meet Calvin Johnson, a handsome young soldier. And they use fire extinguishers to help them escape the creatures.
If anybody's listening, this is no joke. I'm a Marine. I was fighting these slime people and was knocked out. I guess they thought I was dead and left me there. The slime people made a fog, and the fog turned to a wall. If anyone knows how to get through this thing, then I'm sure that there's a few other people just like us.
That night in the TV studio, Bonnie makes her feelings towards Cal known. Yes, they just met but are already falling in love. Hey, it's the end of the world. Who has time to wait? And this is a soldier who uses expressions like, gee whiz.
Gee whiz. You know, as long as you're sitting here, I don't even want to think about slime people.
The next morning, Cal and Bonnie go out looking for supplies that the professor needs to battle these slime people. Meanwhile, Tom and the professor make plans while, of course, Lisa makes the coffee. Oh wait, now Tom has feelings for Lisa. The age difference between the two seems a little inappropriate, but who am I to judge? Anyway, they all leave and almost run into Cal and Bonnie. And then they meet Norman Tolliver, a troublemaking writer who has a goat for a girlfriend. Now, it might be just me, but the minute we see a man holding a goat, we can pretty much guess that he's doomed.
Tolliver, have you heard of the slime people?
Of course. It's all a lot of nonsense. I've been right over there in my cabin all the time, and I haven't seen a one of them.
Anyway, he doesn't believe any of the slime people nonsense, would you? After finding the wall, they quickly run away. The ladies are still carrying their purses. After not bothering to talk to other survivors, they run out of gas in front of a butcher's shop where turkey legs go for 35 cents. Unfortunately, and we all knew this was coming, Tolliver becomes a victim of the slime people. But the professor figures out something. Because Tom's plane almost touched the ocean as he was flying, and he made it through the dome, the solution must be sodium chloride.
Well, what's sodium chloride?
Sodium chloride is table salt.
Now, it seems a little thin to me, but hey, I'm not a scientist. Now, I'm not quite sure what they're doing here, but whatever it is, Cal thinks it's taking way too long. So against the professor's orders, he goes out to find a car. Bonnie decides to tag along, but uh-oh, the slime people get her.
Over there. We're in business.
Now, the slime people have killed everybody they've met so far, but for some unexplained reason, they only kidnap Bonnie, which is good.
Oh, no. Not Bonnie.
I think they've taken her, probably to try and lure us out in the open.
To make a long story short, they rescue Bonnie, and then the group returns to have a final showdown with the monsters. Now, on the way to the showdown, the women are in charge of carrying the buckets of salt while still holding their purses. Come on, ladies, you could have left your handbags behind. Anyway, the salt ends up not doing any good, and Tom decides to use his rifle as a club. They find the machine that makes the dome, and once destroyed, the fog and the dome disappear, and the slime people die. Okay, let me get this straight. The United States Armed Forces were defeated by these clumsy creatures, but a small band of misfits were able to win the day by throwing a wooden spear into a small machine. Hey, it makes sense. As far as Mystery Science Theater 3000, well, about 8 minutes were cut out for their episode, which is okay. Though I did notice their episode started out showing the monsters right away, while the version I watched, the complete film, started out with the dead body on the beach and we had to wait till later to see the creature, so I'm not sure if there's different cuts out there or what. So let's watch some of the highlights from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Hi, I'm a slime person, and this is our story. Come on along with me. Sure, we're not much to look at, but we's good people.
It's pulling into a Texaco station.
You can trust your plane to the guys who are inane. Joel, I think we're in for a long, hard ride with this film.
Will somebody please tell me what's happened?
Well, you signed a contract that your agent couldn't get you out of, and,
Would you like to tell me?
Dad, why did all of this have to happen to us?
Why did a goofy old apocalypse have to happen right when my acne was clearing up?
Lose our heads.
Gee whiz. You know, as long as you're sitting here, I don't even want to think about slime people.
although it's hard looking at a mug like yours.
You better get out of here. Right now. You hear?
A Marine that says, gee whiz, what's he gonna do, storm the Cunningham house?
Oh, I'll get busy in the lab.
And we'll get busy in the kitchen. Oh, tasting my daughter, I see. Well, I'll just stare at these curtains.
Tom is probably in there, falling over his own feet, lying inundated in his own blood.
Shut up.
It'll still make a darn good book.
Shut
up.
I'm going to put you in it too, Professor.
Boy, I bet that'd be scary if we could make out what it was.
Kids, do not play on, in, or around dumpsters.
Behind you.
Hey, white trash meets real trash.
Blonde hair.
Yeah, you can usually find a blonde hair in a field of wheat.
At night.
In a fog.
So we'll wait.
Why are those guys still carrying guns? They don't have any effect on the slime people. We know that.
It's so they don't have to carry the bucket.
Oh.
Well, it looks like Mr. Slime Monster really came to play. Remember, folks, he's battling with a bad head cold.
Oh, look at that, a blistering backhand.
Luckily, the Marine has the fan support in this case.
Ooh, I kissed a Marine.
Now that the fog has lifted, those slime people are about as scary as Teddy Ruxpin. A horse, a horse, my kingdom for a... Ah!
Well, Cal, you've been really worthless. A coward and a tower of jello. Thanks for your help.
So all in all, I thought this was a pretty good Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode. It was a lot of fun. In fact, the film itself was a lot of fun. I liked this film. I mean, it's cheesy and it's not written well and all that kind of stuff, but I just thought it was a fun watch. And you know what I found from doing this type of thing for a while? No matter how low quality a film is, there's always a fan of that movie out there. I just determine that from the comments I get. If I talk badly about a movie, somebody will always tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, next week I'm going to do the 1953 film Project Moonbase. It'll be interesting. There's a lot to say on this one. And for anybody out there who wants to know, I had a great time in Vegas. The first time me, my wife, my son, and daughter have all been together in a while. And whenever we get together, it's like we've never been apart. And it was fantastic. Didn't win a lot of money, but you know, what the hell. Take care. I'll be back next week with Project Moonbase. So long. Thanks, everybody.